from the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us true believers for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for January 2019. Happy New Year! It's a fresh start here at Pittsburgh Comics. Lots of stuff going on last year, including the reconstruction of the front of the store, and I never really felt in sync in 2018. Just kind of made my way through. So I have lots of neat plans for 2019. Lots of things I want to do at the store, so when you come in, kind of look around, see what's changed, see what's different. I'll sneak them in and see what you find. Because of everything that's going on, I'm going to have a lot of fun. We're starting off with, it's going to be Spider-Man month here at Pittsburgh Comics. Because of the huge success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the movie is creating a lot of interest, not just in Spider-Man, but in Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen and all the different characters, including Spider-Pig. I decided to focus on that because we have lots and lots of Spider-Man and Spider-Man family graphic novels and stories that you can learn all about. So, Spider-Man month here at Pittsburgh Comics, and for book club we're doing a fun one that really blew me away when I first read it. It's Umbrella Academy, the first volume, which is Apocalypse Suite. This is a neat one because it's written by Gerard Way, who is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance. And I remember when the book was coming out, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. I'm like, what's going on here? It's some rocker trying to write comic books. But I didn't realize he had interned at Marvel, and this was a love of his. And I finally read it, and the book completely blew me away. And the fun thing is that it's coming out. It's going to be a Netflix series. So if you want to jump on and find out what's going on before you watch the series, the book is fantastic. I do apologize. It's either Fabio Moon or Gabriel Ba did the art on it. They're two brothers that they're Brazilian, and I can't remember which one did it. Normally they work together, but one of them did it. But they're doing a current series right now. Volume 3 is coming out now in issues. But on Friday, January 25th, we're going to have book club for Umbrella Academy Apocalypse Suite Volume 1. So that's what's going on. Then starting with comics, there's a ton of stuff going on. The companies are really embracing the new year and coming out with lots of stuff to start the year. Normally January and February are a little not so exciting, not a lot going on, but all the companies have really embraced the beginning of the year, which makes me really happy. So we're going to start with DC because we normally don't start with DC. So we'll start with DC this year. And they had an interesting situation happen with them just due to scheduling. In December, the last week of December, we didn't get any new comics. The way the Christmas being on a Tuesday, and we normally get our deliveries on Tuesday, and there was really no way for UPS to get us books for that Wednesday. We just kind of had a skip week where we didn't have very many new books. We had some that they shipped the week before that we held on to. So DC kind of took this and went, well, you know what? There's no reason to do anything with that because then January, we're going to have 5 weeks of new comics. So they just moved the last week of December to the first week of January. So that means we're getting a ton of DC product in January. We're getting a whole extra week's worth. Normally they just do annuals and specials when there's a 5th Wednesday. But this week we're getting a regular ship week. So a lot of books that normally we only get once a month, we're getting twice in January. And even some that we get twice a month, we're actually getting 3 issues in January. So January is going to be just chock full of DC stuff. And they also have some neat new stuff coming. Starting off, we have the beginning of Brian Michael Bendis' Wonder Comics line. This is where he's going to more of an all ages, a younger audience that he's aiming for. And so that's starting off. And the first one is Young Justice, based on the team from the cartoon show. It's all the younger teen characters in DC. So it's going to be Superboy and Wonder Girl, Robin, Impulse, and Amethyst, who's Princess of Gemworld, if you don't know who she is. They're also bringing in a couple new characters, the Teen Lantern, and also Ginny Hex, who's a relative of Jonah Hex. So they're getting together for a new book. Should be a lot of fun. Big excitement for this is the return of Connor Kent, who is the clone of Superman and Lex Luthor, is returning to the DC universe as Superboy. So lots of excitement for this one. There's also another book called Naomi that he's doing, where there's Superman and Mongol are fighting in a small town, and it reawakens some memories in this girl named Naomi, and it causes her to investigate her origin and her adoption and how she came to be. So that's another book coming from that. They're also coming out with a couple of specials that are going to be fun. There's one, Mysteries of Love in Space. So trying to kind of combining a bunch of different titles. They're all mystery in space and a love comic. Basically, it's 8 tales of romance that will whisk you to the moon and back. They also have a Superman 100-page spectacular. And this is neat just in the sense it's like a file copy book. It's by Marv Wolfman and Claudio Castellini, and it was drawn between 2006 and 2009. And the idea was for it to be in the Superman Confidential series, but that series was canceled, so they've had this book sitting around for a long time. And basically, it's chronicling the early days of Clark Kent in Metropolis. So it's just kind of fun. This book by longtime great creator Marv Wolfman. This story that has been done and just kind of sitting around. So now they've decided to publish it. So that's mostly it for DC. The rest of it is just going to be tons and tons of their regular books that are just really cruising along. Bendis' Superman in Action have been great. Grant Morrison's Green Lantern, Batman, and all things Batman. And hopefully we get another Doomsday Clock, because that one's been fantastic as well. So now on to Marvel. Marvel is really going nuts in January. Starting off with Conan the Barbarian #1. They have the rights back, and they're bringing Conan back to Marvel. Jason Aaron, who's been doing Thor and Avengers, I guess has always been a huge Conan fan. So they said, what do you want to write? He said Conan. They got Conan back. So he's doing with Mahmoud Asrar, doing the art, and it's basically just stories of Conan. The first one is The Final Days of Conan, where he's telling about the death. But I'm sure as it goes on, we'll go back to more stories where he's not dead. Guardians of the Galaxy is coming back, spinning out of the events of Infinity Wars, the big event they just had. Donny Cates is taking over Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're not telling us who's going to be on the team, so that's going to be a big mystery for some of the first issues. And he's really their hottest creator right now, so that should be a lot of fun. Captain Marvel, we're getting a new Captain Marvel #1 by Kelly Thompson. Hot on the leading up to the big movie that they have coming, so that should be good. Black Widow is getting her own series. Everybody knows her from the Avengers movies. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man by Tom Taylor. So we're getting a second Spider-Man book since Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, just wrapped up. So we're getting a second Spider-Man book. Invaders is coming. These are the classic heroes from the 40s. It was Captain America and Human Torch and Namor. But this is being written by Chip Zdarsky, and right now Namor's a bad guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work this whole dynamic. Champions got a new #1. Jim Zub has been doing this one for a while, and they got a new #1 because they have a new team and lots of new stuff going on there. Marvel Tales Fantastic Four. They're starting to do these one-shot Marvel Tales where they're reprinting a bunch of issues that kind of tie together. So this is a giant-sized reprinting of The Birth of Franklin Richards, the first appearance of Namor in Fantastic Four, and then a special Invisible Woman story. So it's just a nice little chunk of some of your favorite characters. Man Without Fear is coming. This is at the end of Charles Soule's run of Daredevil. It was Death of Daredevil, and it basically left him in a coma. And so this story is dealing with how people of his friends and family deal with his death or his incapacitation, and also while he's in this coma, he's having dreams and nightmares dealing with, he's the man without fear, but what does he fear, and all these little things going on. So this is a 5-issue weekly series going out throughout the month of January, leading into the start of the new Chip Zdarsky Daredevil series. So Age of X-Man Alpha, basically through the events of both Extermination and Uncanny X-Men, the Age of X-Man is coming. So we don't know exactly what it is, but it definitely has the feel of Age of Apocalypse, where all the books got taken over and sent into a different timeline. It definitely looks like something Cable may have gone back, or X-Man may have gone back in time and changed something. So now we have lots of stuff going on. So yeah, basically the Age of X-Man dawns, and the X-Man cannot stop it. Dun dun dun. Marvel is going back, and it's their 80th anniversary, so they're hitting some of their classic titles, giving us little one-shots of some books from years gone by. We're getting a Crypt of Shadows with Al Ewing, Journey into Unknown Worlds with Cullen Bunn, and War is Hell by Howard Chaykin. And I think that's going to continue on into February and maybe even March. We're getting Marvel Comics Presents, which was an old anthology book they did back in the 80s and 90s. And they're bringing that back with 3 Titanic tales celebrating the first decade of Marvel stories. Marvel loves nothing more than big bombastic language. And then getting into some of the more regular series that they have, we have Avengers 12, which introduces an all-new Secret Avengers team, which includes Gorilla Man, Kazar, and the rest of the Agents of Wakanda. Who are they? You've got to read and find out. Web of Venom Unleashed. This is continuing on the Venom stories that they've had. And this one is a journey from the symbiote's perspective through Eddie going through his old haunts in San Francisco. Marvel Tales Venom, which is reprinting some old Venom stories. Doctor Strange 400. This is by Mark Waid and Jesus Saez. They're joined by some of the best Doctor Strange artists of all time to tell a monumentally strange tale. Wolverine. They did a podcast of Wolverine, of telling a Wolverine story, and now they've decided to adapt it to comics. So we're getting Wolverine: The Long Night adaptation from Benjamin Percy and Marco Takara. X-Men 3D, this is kind of a neat one. X-Men 268 from years ago told an older story of Wolverine and Captain America and Black Widow, and by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, and they've decided to 3D it. And so now the book comes with 3D glasses and the whole thing. So this should be an interesting little book. And then we're continuing on with the Star Wars Age of Republic issues. We've already had a couple of them. And coming out in January are Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jango Fett. And then because it's a 5-week month, they decided to slide an extra one in there. Some characters who didn't deserve their own books. But we're getting a Mace Windu story, a Jar Jar Binks story. I don't think anybody wants a Jar Jar Binks whole issue. Asajj Ventress and Captain Rex are all getting their own stories in this one special.
New York, Liberty Island.
I know what it's like to be scared, to be practically frozen in fear. In my early days standing on top of a building, getting ready to jump off, trusting I wouldn't go splat because of some web fluid I designed myself and superpowers I just got from a spider, that was a little scary. But then, there'd be a scream, something that needed my attention more than fear, something more important than my safety. And so, I'd jump. It's what I do. I'm Peter Parker. I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And this is my neighborhood. Really, it was only a matter of time before this happened. The 2-day pothole repair on the bridge is in its 3rd month. They found a pipe issue when they were fixing the pothole. Then they found a structural issue. Then they found... You get the idea. Before the bridge, there are multiple lanes that have become a labyrinthine mess of confusing and contradictory signs. Merge left, but not after 2 p.m. Or if you're a Sagittarius.
Honey, it's okay. I'm gonna get your belt, and we're gonna climb out and up.
I'm scared.
I know, but you're still gonna do this.
Okay, a guy and a kid. If I can webline the truck to... Nope. It's falling. Go limp. Go limp? What kind of instruction is that? Instantly relax while you're falling to your death and I'm screaming at you.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Okay, so that's it for Marvel. Now getting into Image, who likes to do a lot of the crazy, wacky stories. Criminal returns. Now this is a big deal. This is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and they had a big long run. I think it's 6 trades. I forget how many issues it went. But they've committed to work together exclusively, and they've done a lot of great books. We've had Fatale and Killer Be Killed and Fade Out and all sorts of stuff. And now they're returning to The Criminal, which was the start of their story. So it's returning to the world of Teague Lawless. So lots of people are excited about this. It was really a fan favorite book. Oliver. They're adapting Charles Dickens' story, but it's in a post-apocalyptic world with superheroes fighting to liberate war-ravaged England while searching for the truth about his own mysterious origins. So if you like to see about orphans wanting more, but also having superpowers and post-apocalyptic stuff, this will be your book. Gunning for Heroes is set in the shady New York City club life in the 80s. Vindication is about a police officer trying to keep things right with also investigating a murder. So that's Image. Dark Horse, a real fun one. We have Fight Club 3. Fight Club 2 was really well received. And the fun part for me was when I went out to one of my meetings out in Portland. That's where Chuck Palahniuk, the author of Fight Club, lives, and he decided to do the book, and now they're doing a third one. So got to meet him, gave him my email address and stuff. Well, I guess he likes me, and he sent me a care package when Fight Club 2 came out, some signed novels, and something that he does at his public speaking events, which are signed severed arms, and he throws them out at the end of the speeches and stuff. So he sent me a box of arms and some signed books and some signed comics, and just awesome. So we'll be doing a raffle for people that buy Fight Club 3 #1. So if you're interested in getting any fun, cool stuff, here's your opportunity, and it should be an interesting book. Also, Avatar. They are doing an Avatar book, filling in some of the stuff that was only hinted at in the movie. So if you're a big fan of Avatar, come check this one out. It might answer some questions you've had all this time. They're also hitting some video game beats. We're getting Aliens Resistance, which follows the events in the video game Aliens Isolation. We also have a Halo book and a StarCraft book. So if you're a video gamer and you like those, we're getting some comics, and Dark Horse does a really good job adapting or expanding on the storylines of those. Also getting a Tom Clancy book. Tom Clancy's Division Extremis Malice #1. Months after a devastating attack on New York City, Division agents are the last hope of a United States struggling to hold itself together. So, lots of post-apocalyptic and bad things going on. Apparently people like to read about that. There's also one called Word, with a Y. And he's the one that the government calls on when things go very badly and need to get something done. So he's a problem solver for the government for really weird and strange things. IDW has a few coming on. They're mostly do licensed properties and things. So it's fun because they're actually doing some Marvel Kids books because Marvel doesn't want to do them. So the big one is they're doing a Black Panther book coming out in January, written and drawn by Kyle Baker, who's had a illustrious career in comics. So it's just kind of neat letting him take the reins of a Black Panther book. They're also doing some interesting thing called IDW 2020, where they're moving all their books 20 years into the future. So if you want to see what's going on with My Little Pony, or Star Trek Next Generation, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Gem and the Holograms, see what's going on with them in 20 years, is your chance to get a little glimpse into the future. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is also doing one called Shredder in Hell. So Shredder's dead, and now he's down in hell, and how is he going to fight his way out of there, or try to take it over, or whatever Shredder wants to do. Also have an interesting one called Star Trek Q Conflict, where James T. Kirk, Jean-Luc Picard, Catherine Janeway, and Benjamin Sisko are in a hand-to-hand competition that will determine the fate of Earth and beyond. So if you ever wanted to see Kirk and Jean-Luc Picard fight it out, here's your chance. Dynamite is doing their Dynamite thing. They do a lot of characters, and then they tend to like to mash them up. So the big mashup this month is going to be Barbarella Dejah Thoris, which is Dejah Thoris is the Princess of Mars from John Carter, and now meeting up with Barbarella, because why not? I think we're having a Vampirella Dejah Thoris book right now, so they're just doing all sorts of goofy stuff. Also getting a Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, which is an old character, but it's being written by Kieran Gillen, who's done a ton of stuff, including Wicked and Divine right now, and he's got a new book called Die from Image that's doing really well. So he's doing a Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. Turok is back. If you missed the Dinosaur Hunter, he's back for another go-around at Dynamite. This one's being written by Ron Mars. And then we're getting a new Elvira book, because who doesn't like Elvira? Boom is kind of dipping their toe into the licensed stuff, and they've kind of been snagging some properties. They had Firefly that we're a couple issues into right now, and now they've gotten a hold of the license to Buffy. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer is coming from Jordi Belair and Dan Mora, and so we're getting a new series of that from Boom. Also have one called Avant Guards, which is about a high school girls basketball team, and the catch was, what happens when you go for what you really want and get it. So hopefully that's a good, nice little uplifting story. You know, high schoolers, they do really well with, because they've also done Giant Days, which is college-age girls, and Lumberjanes. So it's nice that they found kind of a nice little niche and are addressing it. Action Lab has one coming out this month. Action Lab's a couple local people created this company. Not everybody that works for them is local, but one of them is, and Chad Ciccone, who's a local guy, been a customer for a long time, has a new book coming out called Null Fairies, which is the story of these fairies and the fairy queen who gets attacked by the bad person and loses her power, and now we're years later and we're finding out how she's fighting through and trying to take on the evil. So we're going to be doing a signing here, so if you're interested in this book, I'll post stuff on the website, links to it and everything, a little better description. And they'll be here on Thursday night on January 17th. So I'll post lots of information about that online. Alterna, which is the company that does the little $1.50 newsprint books, has a couple new ones coming. The Actual Roger is Misadventures of an Unwanted Sidekick. So the superhero no longer wants him and he has to go out and do his own adventures. Also, Unit 44 is about two bumbling Area 51 secret agents who forgot to maintain the payments on the storage unit for all the secret stuff that they have in Area 51, and all of a sudden all that secret alien stuff gets out and they're in charge of wrangling it. Archie has an interesting one that they're adding to their Archie horror line, and it's Blossom 666. This is about the Blossom twins, and they harbor a deep secret that one of them is actually the Antichrist. So fun, happy Archie stuff like you're used to. Scout is a little company that's doing a lot of neat little books, and they have one called Shadow Play, and basically two kids start goofing around with things they shouldn't, and actually awaken an ancient artifact that takes one of the kids' shadow. And they have to figure out how to get it back because he's slowly wasting away because he no longer has his shadow. And then the last one I have is another small company. It's called Source Point Comics, and they have one called Savants, where Amy has been taken away from her foster home and forced into the Center for Intuitive Studies, and is trying to figure out why she's there and what's going on, and kind of realizes that all the other kids have these special abilities and what is hers and what's going on. So that sounds fun. I really do enjoy these smaller publishers, and I always do try to spotlight when they have stuff coming out, because you can find out about Marvel and DC pretty much anywhere, but it's these little guys that you might not know about. Those are the ones I'm really happy to put on the shelf. So that's everything that's going on in January in the world of comics and here at Pittsburgh Comics. Like I said, Spider-Man month, so all month long. If you're interested in Spider-Man, if you saw the movie and want more information about some of the characters, I'm sure we have a book that we can put in your hands. We're also doing book club on the 25th, the last Friday of the month, which is going to be Umbrella Academy. It was a real surprise to me, a really good book. So if you're interested, before you watch the Netflix show, come on and give it a read and come on and talk about it. It's a real casual group. It's fun, bring snacks, I order in pizza. It's a good time for everybody. So that's what we got going on here. If you ever have any questions, I'm at the store. I'm on the website's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram under PGH Comics. So that's all I have for this month. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater. Thanks.
Edward 237. Edward Brooke 237. Brooke. Brooke. Edward. Brooke. Brooke. 237. 237. 237. Ah! No! Ah!